I just got back from Eddington, and the headline is, "It's good." So let's talk about it a little bit. And disclosure, spoilers ahead. Much has been made about the politics of this movie and the stances it takes or doesn't take. And to be honest, I'm not even so much interested in that. Is some of Ari Aster's portrayal of COVID shallow? Yes, but he gets the point across, and I don't even really care about that. I mostly just want to talk about the story and the plot. So the story mostly follows Joaquin Phoenix's a character who is a sheriff in a small New Mexico town in the middle of COVID. And you can clearly see that he's like a conservative, right-wing, anti-masker type of person, right? He decides to run for mayor against the incumbent of that town, the current mayor, which is Pedro Pascal's character. And he's portrayed as like a typical liberal. So Joaquin Phoenix starts to run for mayor against Pedro Pascal. So he goes through like cartoonish campaign antics, etc. And all the while, BLM protests and quote unquote riots start to break out in his small town, and him and his very small sheriff's station and his team of like two guys are trying to kind of contain it all. Meanwhile, in the backdrop of all of this, we see a little peek into Joaquin Phoenix's character's private life. At home, he lives with his wife and his wife's mom, his mother-in-law. And they're both kooky, they're both conspiracy fueled. And as we sort of see this in Joaquin Phoenix's private life, we also clearly see and are told that his wife, Emma Stone, something happened to her. Something traumatic happened to her, and there's some allusion to it having something to do with the mayor, Pedro Pascal. So Joaquin Phoenix hates Pedro Pascal's character, not just for what he stands for, but also for what he allegedly did to his wife. She ends up running off with Austin Butler, basically. And then this sends Joaquin Phoenix into a full-blown mental breakdown spiral. So Joaquin Phoenix has a mental breakdown. He ends up unaliving Pedro Pascal's character in a very dramatic fashion. After Joaquin Phoenix does what he does, takes out Pedro Pascal, he tries framing one of his deputies. And then finally, the movie shows that Antifa arrives at Joaquin Phoenix's doorstep in the small town of Eddington. It's too much to explain, but this like massive shootout / chase, which to me was very reminiscent of No Country for Old Men, the famous scene between Anton and Josh Brolin's character where they're like shooting each other in the street. Very reminiscent of that, but like times 5 or 6, I would say. Some insane chase / shootout happens between Joaquin Phoenix and these Antifa guys who like basically parachute into his town and start wreaking havoc. At the very end, Joaquin Phoenix gets viciously attacked by one of these Antifa guys, but then he gets saved by this character who throughout the entire film has been this white kid championing Black Lives Matter and like saying all these like platitudes and like, oh, white privilege, this land is stolen, blah, 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 all that type of rhetoric. That kid, who is portrayed as incredibly liberal and left throughout the entire movie, all of a sudden ends up saving Joaquin Phoenix and then becomes like a hero for the right. And becomes like a little bit of a Kyle Rittenhouse. It's pretty funny. And then after that, you see that because Joaquin Phoenix has been viciously attacked, he's sort of like paralyzed for the rest of his life.